Hunt 'em Big with Steve Bartylla. Brought to you by Huntworth and these other fine sponsors.
Doing a bunch of little things and having them stack up to big difference makers, I use that in habitat improvement. I use that in herding cats, otherwise known as deer management, and I utilize it in hunting all the time. What you're doing is that great big single ticket item that, man, if I just go buy this, if I just learn this, if I just do that, man, everything's changed. And wow, do I ever have this game down and my success? I don't know what that is. Okay. Outside of doing a bunch of little things, and quite honestly, if there is such a thing, it's learning as much as you humanly possibly can about whitetails, learning as much as you humanly possibly can about their habitat, how they utilize it, and other hunters in the area. That's the biggest game changer. But outside of that, what I find is it's a whole bunch of little things that all add up to make a big difference. For example, practice. It's virtually all of us practice. That's awesome. We better. The way most of us practice is great for training muscle memory, sighting in the weapons, all that good stuff. But it has nothing to do with how we hunt. You know, I can't speak for any of you, but I'm not sitting there with both feet on the ground, standing calmly with all the time in the world to go ahead and make that shot. Practicing like I hunt makes a big difference. That means go ahead and practice with every item of equipment before heading out into the deer woods. Rather, that once I get sighted in, I'm no longer sitting there taking those 20-yard shots over and over and over. I'm moving back to 100. I'm moving back to 100 because this right here is our greatest weapon. It really is. And when it goes south on us, we're in trouble. If I believe I can make that shot, I am going to make that shot almost every single time. Taking long-range practice shots. It puts our heads in the right place. If I can make a 100-yard shot, you know darn well I can make a 20-yard shot. It alerts us to any equipment issues, and it makes sure that we know all this stuff before we ever head out into the deer woods. When it comes to stands, you know, that's great. We found that stay. We want to hunt them going to this food over here. That's awesome. But how can we go ahead and stack our odds now? How can we get more greedy? Look for those nasty erosion ditches that are coming from the deep woods and going up next to those food sources. Those nasty erosion ditches that are too tough for deer to jump, well, they end up being funnels, and they force deer up around the tip, which is forcing them to that food source, that wide open alfalfa field, cornfield, bean field, food plot, antler king, trophy clover plot. And it's forcing them down around the bottom. So now, all else being equal, I set up there, I'm hunting deep woods movement right along with feeding activity. The more I can go ahead and stack as many of these things that these whitetails want, the better my success is going to be. As I said, now I'm hunting food and I'm hunting deep woods movement. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to block off the trails that I can't cover. Is that going to cause every single deer to come by my? No, but it's going to help. I'll go ahead and make what I'm covering that much easier. And then when I'm done, I know that buck's gonna come through out here. So I'm creating a shooting lane there. I'm one that way, and this way, because when they come through on one of those, I look so much smarter when I can actually make the shot. Apply the same type of stuff with calling. I know some people go out there and do a bunch of blind calling and rattling. That has almost never worked for me. Now, oftentimes when I'm hunting pressured whitetails, I won't even think about blind calling and rattling. What works for me is when I see that buck going through, we're talking moderately pressured or lightly hunted grounds. I see that buck coming through, he's not coming over to me, I grunt at him loud enough in order for him to hear it. Once I get his attention, all right, I'm ready. If he comes in, I'm going to make, if he doesn't come in, if he starts to go up, a couple doe calls. Okay. If that doesn't bring him in, As soon as he starts it, I take my lower lip, pinch it to my upper teeth, and spit all over myself. If that doesn't bring him in, I grab the antlers. Okay. And if that doesn't bring it in, I'm done. When it comes to pressured deer, though, I'm not taking that approach. Those pressured deer, if they were going to come into that stuff, they died as 1.5-year-olds, 2.5-year-olds with the oldest instead. There, I'm not going to do anything. The only chance I am ever going to call at that deer is if I don't think there's any chance him coming in again, then I'll give him a grunt, that's it. Because think about what everybody else has been doing out there. It's not the first time he's heard this stuff. Lastly, I take the first ethical shot I possibly can. I do not wait for a better shot. By taking that first ethical shot I can make, I jack my odds. It's no one thing. It's odor control. It's using scents and mock scrapes to position deer and draw them over. It's all these little things that add up to make a big difference.
Final thoughts, brought to you by Huntworth.
There isn't that one groundbreaking, earth-shattering tactic that I use that goes ahead and works so spectacular. Where I find my success is taking a bunch of little things and doing them to stack the odds in my favor. The more things I can stack the odds in my favor on, the more, there's all sorts of things we can't control, but focusing on what I can control and addressing that tends to really do an awful lot of luck creation for this guy right here.